what I was gonna talk about was how they actually make new fighting games easier. One thing that people tend to do is they use lots of non-isms like, oh, this game is easier because you can't express yourself as a player. It's some bullshit. So I will share with you the very not sexy answer of how they actually make fighting games easier. So point number one, and obviously Strive is a really good one for this. Gotta talk about damage. Gotta talk about damage. I heard from someone that the damage in Guilty Gear Strive is really high, but also the damage is high in a lot of new games, actually. And this is a very simple, direct way they make games easier. Why? Higher damage, more volatile game. Not only is the game more volatile, it means damage, aka winning, becomes immediately more accessible. Dragon Ball is one. That game is a two-touch game, right? You get hit twice and you die. Your one character dies. When you lose a character, you're at a very, very large disadvantage. Especially the better you get at the game, the more you feel the pain of being down a character. It's a big deal. One reason why old games are harder in this regard is that there are many situations that come up where you can't get a combo, meaning your damage is lower and both people have to act in kind of like a slight advantage or slight disadvantage situation. Where in this game, whatever hit you get will do like a bunch of damage and then you do what you do, which kind of takes us to the second thing, the consistency of conversion ability. So I think in this game, they do a pretty fair job. All the best characters in the game have really consistent conversion ability, for example. But this was a huge thing about DBFZ and actually BlazBlue for a long time. I mean, BlazBlue is still technically, even though the game has developed a lot, and obviously the game has been pushed like crazy. Like one of the things about this game, when I look back on it, you get combos, full combos off all of your hits, which is a big deal. Dragon Ball, same thing. You get a full combo off all of your hits. Why does getting a full combo off all of your hits make a fighting game easier? Like, how does it actually make the game easier? So HC, let's take HC for example. So like if he hits you at the start of the round, right? So he does it. Imagine learning a character for a video and then you just don't have the hands. There you go. Let's just do something like this, right? So let's just pretend like, okay, I hit you, I converted it. So I did all this damage, right? Now you're knocked down, boom, and then it's time, and I do that until I get this, and I just shoot you over and over, right? Why was this so straightforward for me to describe? Because I'm able to have a clear picture of what happens after I hit you, because I know I'm going to get a full combo that leads into this situation. That's the reason why. So this is a big thing about why he's good. Like when he hits you, he always gets to combo, and he is going to build some situation during the combo that's advantageous for him to try to push that advantage. This is what happens when you can get combos all the time. When you get combos all the time, when you hit somebody, you can very much build out all the options that can come from the hit, because what can happen, right? So they burst you, maybe you build a burst plan there of like, oh, I could put a burst safe part here or whatever. When I knocked him down, okay, what character am I playing against? How much resource do they have? How much resource do I have? Do I have a specific resource or not? What type of situation am I trying to set up here? This is how we felt about that player expression video that I made. This is the reason why I felt there was a one true playstyle for a very long time, was all the fighting games I started with. So I started with Melty Blood, which you can combo off all hits, even jabs, jab into a full combo. Then I moved to BlazBlue, same thing. Then I moved to Persona, same thing. So all the fighting games I started with, characters could convert basically all hits into combos into situation. So because of that, I was like, oh, like you could just build everything, and like it is very possible to technically see everything that could happen and have something ready for all situations. It actually was not until I played a little game called Guilty Gear Xrd. Yeah, it was not until I played a game called Guilty Gear Xrd that I changed my mind about this. And the main reason is because of this type of situation that is very, very common in Guilty Gear, just period, as a series. There's a range where I can use this move. Yeah, I can go into this, right? But you don't want to go into that because that's really disadvantage. So you might just hit that. If it's not counter hit and I hit it from here, what do I do? Am I even advantage? I don't think so. Usually you're slightly disadvantaged, but not so disadvantaged that someone can punish you. But you guys both have to make a choice on what is going to happen next, basically immediately. Can you prepare for this also? Yes. But the thing is, different people are going to act differently, and it's still not so common that these type of stray situations lead into guaranteed situations. The best you can do is keep like a slight advantage and try to like position yourself so that you can be safe and keep moving. And even then, some people might disagree, but that's generally like my approach to that thing. A lot of old games have this though, of this like, oh, stray hit into next situation. Street Fighter has a ton of them, right? Street Fighter has a ton of them. Grand Blue has a good amount. Guilty Gear has a decent amount. Where there are other games like Dragon Ball is one of the main ones in my head. Persona, Blaze Blue, you get combos of all stuff. This is a really, really, really big one for me about how they make fighting games easier, is how often can you convert hits to full combos. Guilty Gear Strive does not have this, but it almost did have it, and people were fucking mauling over this, and myself included. And because this is one that I really hate. It's how strong jumping is combined with how weak anti-air is. I think Dragon Ball is a really good example. So in Dragon Ball, you have a universal anti-air, right? Yeah, this is 2H. So this move beats jump-ins, and specifically, it's for like things like Super Dash, right? It's a very clear counter to that. But one thing about this game is that there are many, many, many air options. So you have a lot of ways to alter your momentum. You have air projectiles. You have traveling moves that are basically instant combined with assist. It's a very common strategy in this game. And if you super jump, you can either float or fall faster. It's like a special movement where you can do like a really far super jump float here. And you can call assist off screen. So there's just so many ways to mess with somebody who's trying to anti-air in this game. Basically, if you want to anti-air in this game, your options are you either pick a character that lets you do it, like Broly, because he's got the up grab, for example. So if he does this, get out of here. We have his goated projectile. He's really huge. You can just do this and literally just run up and do it because his is exceptionally large. He has a couple ways of doing it. So either you pick a character that does it, or you pick an assist that does it. Usually something invincible, or something that hits at like jump height or something. Those are your main ways of doing it. You either use a character plus assist, or you pick a character that has anti-air stuff. But if you don't have that, anti-airing can be really, really, really hard / uncommon. Most of the anti-airs you see single characters do, there aren't like moves that are traveling or like some type of special thing. It's honestly just beating people airborne with jump light, which is not that consistent / still mildly scrambling because you still have to deal with the whole amount of options that they have when they're moving around in the air. So this one is a really, really big one. I started seeing this in like Ultimax, Persona Ultimax. They juiced up jump-ins and nerfed anti-airs. Dragon Ball goes to an extreme with this. Guilty Gear Strive in the original beta that I played was also like this. Like, it was fucking impossible to anti-air people, and this is probably the one that bothers me the most, because high damage games, like I played plenty of high damage games, that's whatever. Honestly, you get better at the game, you get better at dealing with situations, dealing with risk return, blah, blah, blah. The conversion ability thing is tough, but if all the characters have good conversion ability, then it doesn't matter so much, really. It kind of sucks when it's spread amongst characters like Guilty Gear. But for a game like Dragon Ball, everyone combos up everything all the time. The anti-air thing makes me want to fucking punch a wall. This is actually the thing that I hate the most. To keep it real, this is the thing I hate the most. There's one more. This one is relatively new, actually. It's this. This is new. I actually think more games will do this down the line. Let's actually hop into Strive 2. There's not a lot of this in fighting, at least in the fighting games I played. Let me break this wall real quick. So this like resetting to neutral thing that you generally have to plan around, or at least like think about, is a relatively new thing. So we watched like Vampire Savior a little bit yesterday, and Vampire Savior is the other extreme where the round that you win is a fucking Oki situation, right? Where like Guilty Gear Strive and Dragon Ball are like on the other extreme. Where I'll say Dragon Ball is probably maximum, where you literally go back to round start when you down a character, where most team games you just get offense right away, like you start to snowball in those situations. In Dragon Ball you reset. In Guilty Gear, a game is known for a lot of tricky, difficult to deal with corner situations, they were like, alright, what if we just ended that real quick, and the players have to do something about it. So between tactics like cutting combos early, so I did a full Millia combo, but in a matchup you'd probably see me do this instead. right? I would keep the corner positioning to keep the advantage position, just to push resource a little bit more, keep my advantage a little bit more before going to neutral, so I can return to neutral with more advantage. There's some characters that when they break the wall, super, as we mentioned before, characters like Happy Chaos would be one of these, or Zato, where they do this. Even though you go back to neutral, they in particular have really good situations here, so they just do it anyway, where like another character might choose to not do that. Are there choices based off this? Yes. At the beginning, it always makes the game easier in that the person you're playing against will feel the impact of getting hit less, because in their head they're like, the game is gonna let me out eventually, because either we just go back to the middle because my character died in Dragon Ball, or oh, they broke the wall so I don't have to block mix or whatever, like it's fine in this game. I expect to actually see this a little bit more. Now you might be like, why don't you talk about how combos are easier or how the motion inputs are easier? My usual response to that is that that's 99% bullshit, because most of the time, if you're somebody who just enjoys doing hard combos, and I don't know, I got mixed feelings, right? But where people are just like, oh, this is just what makes the game cool and hard, is that there's hard combos. People just do what they gotta do. So if the thing is a little difficult, they'll practice it. If the thing is fine, they'll practice it. If something seems hard at the beginning, eventually people will do it anyway, a la Happy Chaos. As far as the input stuff, I would say like motion inputs, because some people even talk about motion inputs straight up. In Strive's case, I mean, Strive has basically all the standard Guilty Gear motions, like half circle back forward, for example, that new people hate a lot. There are games like, people came at Dragon Ball really aggressively for this. Dragon Ball is like 95% quarter circles, just a couple of like downs, and like that's it. There's no DP motions or anything. But again, all the challenge of Dragon Ball is how do you play neutral? How do you build a team? How do you keep offense? How do you deal with this? About just how you deal with situations, and how do you build something that advantageous that also helps you with things that you struggle with, because characters in Dragon Ball are missing things on purpose. And there are games like Multi who, this is Type Lumina, but like, let's say Actress again, where the inputs in Multi Blood are generally pretty simple. Like, there's DP motions, quarter circles. Probably like the hardest thing is like DP motions outside of like supers, because there's a couple like half circles. I think there's a couple double quarter circles, but for the most part, you're doing a lot of relatively simple motions in this game too. So like motion input, when people are like, this game is easy because motion inputs, like it doesn't have hard motion inputs, I'm just like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, who are you trying to flex on, bro? Who are you trying to flex on? Your cousin? Like, come on, son. So yeah, these are the main ones I tend to focus on. How do you guys feel?